Just moments ago, I heard myself say that one of the core values that defines us as Unitarian Universalists is interdependence. Let's explore that a little more. For many years, most of us, for more years than most of us can remember, we have affirmed and promoted this interdependence in what used to be called our seventh principle and is now a part of our shared UU values. A vital part of our faith is committing to honor the interdependent web of all existence and our place within it. Now, for many of us, this has most often been understood as a declaration of our responsibility to protect the environment, to recycle, to reuse, to consume less, to live in more sustainable ways that preserve our planet for future generations. Being conservationist, being proud tree huggers, that's an essential part of our identity as religious people. Right here at All Peoples, we have seen this lived out in so many ways. In our past efforts to end mountaintop removal mining here in Kentucky, in our annual participation in the Earth Walk, which, by the way, we were the largest group at last year's Earth Walk from our congregation of anybody, in our advocacy for investments in renewable energy on the state and the local level, and in our support of Bernheim Forest in their battle against the building of a pipeline across a portion of their land. Our encounters with this interdependent web of all existence also inform our shared perspective on the very nature of life itself. Rather than seeing our human species as superior or dominant to other forms of life, we embrace the truth that our well-being and our very survival is inherently connected to the larger ecosystems of our global environment. Biological science proves for us that our interdependence is not just an abstract value or a nice-sounding concept that we can choose to embrace or not. It is the actual reality. It is the reality that makes every breath we take, every moment we live, possible. For many of us, the truth of our interdependence is also a guiding force in our personal spirituality as well. How often have you found yourself saying things like this, or maybe you've heard other people around you in this congregation saying things like, "Going for a walk in the woods connects me to myself and to deeper truths when I really need it. The awe and the wonder I feel watching that dramatic sunset last night, boy, that brought me an amazing sense of peace. The beauty and the colors of the spring flowers bursting forth in my yard, they make me more joyful. They make me hopeful." We have all been taught to think of those moments of inspiration as encounters with the natural world. But they are more than that. The plants and the animals, the winds and the rains are actually extensions of ourselves. They are living forces happening within and beyond us at the very same time. Now, I bring all this up this morning because today we are exploring earth-centered spirituality, and more specifically, the wisdom found in pagan traditions and practices. Now, when I get asked about my personal theology, my own identity, I often say, at least these days, that I consider myself to be a religious humanist. I hold a deep reverence for nature, and I share in our commitments to protect it. But through most of my life, I was not one of those people running around quoting poems and passages about finding God in the garden. All of that changed, though, for me not that long ago. For the first 4 decades of my life, I called Appalachia and the Ohio River Valley my home. I grew up playing in the woods and climbing trees, and I had always lived in a town or a city surrounded by mountains or hills and situated along the rolling waters of a river. Then at the age of 45, I was ordained to be a minister, and I was called to serve a congregation in the southern suburbs of Houston, Texas. Now, if you have ever been to the southern suburbs of Houston, Texas, you know that it is very flat. I mean, very flat. I mean, the only hill of any kind is the garbage dump, right? There's sparse tree cover. There is very little natural shade. There's a lot of concrete and plenty of parking lots and shopping centers there. After arriving in that part of Texas, I came to recognize something. It struck me just how much those trees and those mountains and those rivers that I had always known had grounded me and inspired me and defined me. Their absence left a huge void in my psyche, and I realized maybe I've been taking them for granted. Much more of my personal spirituality was earth-based, maybe, than I had ever imagined. At the congregation that I served down in Houston, we had 2 earth-centered spirituality groups there. One was a UU-based pagan circle, and the other was a Druid coven, which rented space at the church once a month. Over the years, I became good friends with the Druid priestess who led that group, and I often attended their bonfires and solstice rituals. It was very different than anything that I had ever experienced, and I can't say that I really understood it all by any means, but I did find those rituals quite meaningful, especially while living amidst such a harsh and unappealing environment. Someone wiser than me once observed that despite what we may think or have been taught, the purpose of religion is not to instill or promote dogmas or beliefs. The real purpose of religion is to generate within us the ability to find connections to what brings us meaning and renewal. If we can only experience that transforming sense of wonder and awe when we see that perfect sunset, or when we witness nature in all her beauty and her glory, if we can only get that sense of awe then, how do we find it? How do we find hope and serenity when it's gray, when it's cloudy, when it's ugly outside? If we place our faith in the goodness of humanity and in the spirit of love and compassion that we feel expressed around us, how do we keep going when people are mean and greedy and cruel? To me, the magic and the power of earth-based religious traditions is found in their focus on elevating the everyday happenings of nature beyond just being pretty or being pleasant, actually naming and claiming them as divine forces with stories and personalities and histories uniquely their own. Rituals like those on Ostara and Samhain, Yule and Lammas serve to take us to a place way beyond simple reverence or responsibility for our environment. They teach us that the forces of earth and wind, water and air should be the objects of our worship. Because after all, it is they who create us, sustain us, and connect us all of the time. In that Druid circle that I used to attend down in Texas, a blooming rose was not just a pretty flower to enjoy for its temporary beauty. That blooming rose was an expression of the earth goddess bursting forth with new life, a sign that the sacred circle of the year was continuing in motion, existing and living above and beyond us all. There is something very concrete and extremely powerful in seeing a rose like that. I don't know about you, but amid all of the struggles and the hardships and the heartaches of life, especially these days, I find that abstract concepts and principles are just often not enough to keep me hopeful and engaged. So much that we experience can be painful and not that pretty. So elevating and celebrating those forces which keep going despite our little human problems and solutions, keep connecting to that which is beyond our conflicts and compassion. Doing that offers a grounding, a sense that what is sacred is always here, always present, always available, no matter what. I need that sometimes, and I bet you do too. In a couple of weeks, we are going to be gathering here at All Peoples for our next earth-centered time of ritual and reflection. On Friday evening, June the 20th, we will be coming together to observe Letha and the arrival of the summer solstice. I encourage you to come and join us. And in the meantime, go out there and be on the lookout for God or goddess or however you name what is sacred. Be on the lookout for it as it grows and flowers, as it flows and blows right outside your door. So may it be, and amen.